Hola amigos, it's Chappy's Tiki Bar. This is the Cinco de Mayo episode. This episode I'm going to make a poncho for a chihuahua, then Michelada, steak fajitas, and then best tropical destination stories right here on Chappy's Tiki Bar. Buenos tardes amigos, I'm Chappy, this is my bar. Welcome to Chappy's Tiki Bar. This is Mookie. Oh, wait a second. This is Mookie. Mookie, ¿qué pasa? Mira, Mookie, mira. And with us, as always, is Fred. Now, Fred's wearing a sombrero today because we're celebrating Cinco de Mayo. So I'm going to make a little poncho for Mookie to start, and then I'm going to do a Michelada. So stay tuned for that. So we're going to get started on making some ponchos. Now, this is a very intense seamstressing and custom alteration. So I'm going to put it step by step on the screen because it's very complex. So start with one. I'm going to do one for me and then I'm going to do one for Mookie. Start with one blanket, or in this case a tablecloth. Now this tablecloth belongs to my girlfriend. So step one, do not mention this to my girlfriend. Step two, take a blanket or tablecloth, find somewhere in the center, and you want to cut a hole about the size of your head. If you do the size of your neck, it won't fit. So I'm just cutting a hole in my girlfriend's good tablecloth. Okay. Now let's see here. And make sure if you're wearing a fake mustache, not for it not to come off. So how to make a poncho for a chihuahua. Take a kitchen rag, or I guess it's called a tea towel. This one actually does not belong to my girlfriend, so that's a good thing. And we're going to cut a hole in the tea towel. Okay, you ready, Mookie? Get your poncho on. Okay, so we're going to do that Michelada. So I got regular beer glass. Now this is the best part of the Michelada. I have Tangerine chili powder. So it's a chili lime flavored sort of powder or seasoning that comes from Mexico. You can get them at Walmart here in Canada. So I want to rim the glass just like you would a margarita. So I'm going to give it a really good rim job. So I'm just putting the seasoning on a small plate. And then I'm going to take a lime wedge and just run it around the rim there so the seasoning will stick to the side like a margarita does salt. All right, so there we go. We got the Tangerine on the glass. And then I have one Mexican beer. This is, I'm not even going to go there. Essay, please. So in goes the Mexican beer. Next up, the recipe calls for clamato juice. I happen to hate clamato juice, so I'm just going to pretend to put it in. Glug, glug, glug. Okay, that's your clamato juice. And then I have some authentic Mexican hot sauce. It's Valentina. Again, you can get this at Walmart in Canada. So put the hot sauce into your taste, depending on how spicy you like it. And then a splash of Worcestershire sauce. And I have a little packet of soy sauce. So just a splash of soy sauce. And then we're going to go with some fresh limes. And then for garnish, we're going to use a lime wedge and one fake Mexican mustache. Now you might be saying, Chappy, we're at home. We don't want to leave. We don't have any Mexican mustaches on hand. So a good substitute for a fake Mexican mustache is a fake Colombian mustache. Now this one has some kind of white substance on it. So anyways, that's the I can't even remember what it's called. So anyways, that's a Michelada. And stay tuned, we got much more fun coming up for our Cinco de Mayo episode. Hey, Joey the Fish here. Now look, I've been self-isolating my whole life. Just a big fish in a little pond type scenario. Then one day I see a worm on a hook, bada boom, bada bing. Next thing you know, I'm a decoration behind a tiki bar that happens to be elegant yet the right amount of kitsch. So if you want to drop us a line, just leave a comment in the comment section below. Get it? Drop us a line? But seriously, subscribe to Chappy's Tiki Bar. You'll be hooked. So coming up next, Chappy's going to make some steak fajita type things. And then we got Mookie doing best tropical destination stories. So send your best tropical destination stories to chappiness@yahoo.com. Now I like to call Mookie El Chapo because she's a Mexican breed. She likes to burrow, mostly under blankets. And she used to run a Mexican drug cartel, but we don't talk about that. Now for best tropical destination stories, Mookie somehow managed to obtain a story from the goddamn legend. If you know him, you know who I'm talking about. He's going to remain anonymous, but let's just say, to paraphrase Jimmy Buffett, he's not one step ahead of the jailer. Okay, so here goes my steak fajitas. I got a nice hot cast iron skillet. Just going to add some onions. I have about 2 onions cut up there. And then you want to add a little bit of salt to sweat out the onions. I got some nice sea salt. And then you'll notice my ratio of onions to green peppers is not quite equal, but nowadays, like, if you don't want to go to the grocery store, just use what you got. And you'll see in a minute, I'll be using leftover steak too, so whatever you can do to save a trip to the grocery store these days. So the flour tortillas, it's important you heat it up. I'm just going to wrap it in foil and pop it in the oven just so it's heated through, but it's much better when it's heated. So I have some dehydrated garlic. They're slivers, so I already added them. And then that's my fajita seasoning. It's actual fajita seasoning I got at Fiesta grocery store in Houston, Texas. Recommended my good friend Doug from Houston, Texas. He says he puts it on everything. And that's my leftover steak. You can see I like my steak quite rare, and I cut it against the grain into little bite-sized pieces. I'm just going to add it at the end. Hopefully it'll stay a little bit pink, but it'll probably mostly cook through. And in goes the steak. And then I'm going to give it a good hit of seasoning. There's the fajita seasoning. If you don't have fajita seasoning, you can always use garlic salt, would work well. So then the final ingredient, and this is the secret, I'm going to add a splash of beer. The best fajitas I ever had on the cruise ships, we went to this place called Ernesto's, and the owner told me his secret was he added beer to everything. If anybody knows if Ernesto's is still open in Cozumel, Mexico, leave a comment in the comment section below. Now, I think technically fajitas are considered Tex-Mex, and I'm probably going to get kicked out of the foodie snob club for this, but I actually prefer Tex-Mex and Mexican fast food over authentic Mexican food. Now, don't get me wrong, I like a good mole just as much as the next señor, but yeah, I hate to admit it, I like tacos that are from Taco Bell. So you can see I sort of got like a little gravy going with the beer I added. I wanted to make sure you hear the sizzle like in the restaurants. It almost makes it taste better. So I added just some store-bought tomatillo sauce and a little bit of cilantro. The Ernesto's fajitas that I like so much, they had really nice guacamole. So like if you can make a fresh guacamole from avocados, that's nice. So coming up next, we got best tropical destination stories with Mookie. Hola amigos, Mookie here. So this is the best tropical destination story. Comes to you from Cancun. We're gonna call this person RJ. So if you have any small children or any older people with pacemakers, get them the hell out of the room for this story. And as always, send your best tropical destination stories to chappiness@yahoo.com. Alright, here goes best tropical destination story from RJ in Cancun. One afternoon in Cancun, I was floating around in the ocean minding my own business when I heard a couple of female voices behind me. "I will if you do," said one. "Okay, but you first," said the other. "Only if we go out a little further from shore," responded the original voice. Curiosity getting the better of me, I turned around to see a pair of middle-aged ladies on a flotation raft. "What are you girls thinking of doing?" I inquired. The better-looking of the two, really no contest, responded, "My friend thinks we should go topless out here, but I don't think it's such a great idea." I suggested it was a capital idea. The other responded, "Maybe, but we're too close to shore. We need to go further out where not everyone on the beach will have full view." I offered to push the raft for them. Once we got near the ropes that indicated swimming further was not advisable, I told them, "We can't go much further. It's now or never." The better-looking one smiled at me and said, "You first." Well, I pointed out to them that I was not wearing a top. Typically, I just wear my swimming trunks in the ocean. "Well, you better not be wearing those either if you think we're taking off our tops. Clothing was removed and we eventually headed back closer to shore. The girls topless on the raft and me pushing them, swimming with my trunks in my hand. The better looking one did offer to carry my trunks, but I wised up knowing that if I handed them to her, I may not get them back. As we approached the beach, we got to a water depth where everything was still covered, but within earshot of a couple of their friends. "We have a naked man out here," they shouted back to shore. The friends didn't believe it, but the better-looking one asked for my trunks again. This time I complied. My eyes were kind of distracted anyways. She waved them in the air for her friends and half the resort to see. The next day I went out for my afternoon swim to work off some of the beers and tequilas I had been downing. Once again I spotted the raft in the water, but this time the better-looking one was by herself. I decided to swim over and be sociable. "You're not suntanning topless today?" I asked. "Well, maybe if some nice young man would push me further away from shore, I could," she offered. I had a feeling she was hitting on me, as even back then I was not often called a nice young man. So as we got further out, the top came off, my hands spent less time on the rubber raft and more on the flotational devices that suddenly appeared. We finally got out on the ropes that marked the swimming boundary, which was good because I needed a break. Little did I know, the most difficult part was about to start. When we got to the edge of the swimming area, we positioned the raft against the ropes, meaning I was on the other side paddling to stay afloat. About that time, the girl decided to let her hands go wandering. Without getting too graphic, let's just say I suddenly found myself in a situation where it was required to tread water with my swim trunks around my knees. The sea was rough that day, and so was my stomach, after making a tough swim filled with Pacifico and Cuervo. As I tried my best to keep my new friend as entertained as I was, I started taking in a lot of salt water. Remember, my hands were busy treading water. As much fun as I was having, my entire body was suddenly overcome with exhaustion, and a real fear started to develop that I was likely to drown. Knowing that the raft would not likely support the weight of both of us all the way back to the beach, I had to cut the proceedings short. My very survival depended on it. Of course, a sudden halt in our activities created its own problem, but I had no time to fret over that. I was trying to be a gentleman and push the raft in, but eventually I gave up and I told her she was on her own. I used every bit of strength I had to get back to water depth where I could touch the bottom. As I dragged myself out of the Atlantic and back onto the beach chair, my buddies looked at me and asked if I had just come out through a war. If they only knew. Well, that was quite a story, RJ. I laughed, I cried, it became a part of me. It was kind of like Nacho Libre meets Maurice from Slapshot. So that concludes another episode of Chappy's Tiki Bar. Please hit the subscribe button. This is Mookie saying stay home and embrace the new normal. See you next time on Chappy's Tiki Bar.